August 5th, 2024. You all stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Would you lead us in the allegiance, please?
Yes, I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary, could we please have roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Scott Funk,
Present.
Councilmember Liz Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Lorraine Worthy,
Present.
Councilmember Maria Orozco,
Present.
and Mayor Jose Rios.
Present.
Mayor and council, before we proceed, we received information this afternoon that there were some problems with accessing the agenda that was posted on the website. So when we received that notice, it was this afternoon, the city clerk went online and didn't have any trouble accessing the agenda and was able to actually help somebody who was on the phone access the agenda. But there has been a allegation that made that somehow the posting was not properly made on Friday afternoon. So I spoke to Mary and she said the city clerk for forever. And she said that she followed the usual process for posting it on the agenda and so forth. And we did all the other posting measures that we always go through, which is to post it in several locations in the city, to mail it out to those individuals who are on the list of people who will receive the agenda and so forth. So this isn't a case where we didn't post the agenda, at least as far as we're concerned. And when we checked it today, and we didn't take any corrective actions, when we checked it today, the agenda was accessible. Notwithstanding that, there were some individuals, including Mr. Barba, who's a regular, who does check this. He said that he tried to access it on Saturday and was unable to get it and so forth, to download it. So the council has a decision, a choice if they want to. We can proceed. There's an AG's opinion, and there's also opinion that basically says as long as there has been substantial compliance with the notice requirements of the Brown Act, the fact that there was a technological problem that kept it from being posted on the website is not in and of itself the basis for not moving forward with the meeting or challenging actions that were taken at the meeting. In this case, our assertion would be that it was on the agenda and it was accessible, but for whatever reason, folks were having trouble over the weekend. Not sure why, but notwithstanding that. So we could either move forward this evening or we could cancel this evening's meeting, reschedule for a date probably tomorrow at a later time, because it's too late to post for our regular 6 o'clock time, but we could post for a 7 o'clock special meeting to consider the matter that's on the agenda and take up all the other business. So.
Well, my thought on that is that since it was posted on the door here in front, and I believe also on the door at City Hall, is that correct? Then I think we've met the letter of the law. That's my one opinion, so I'll let the rest of the council.
I concur.
Okay. Anybody have a
Me
different
too.
opinion?
Me too.
I agree, and I
Okay.
believe I received the agenda probably right around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday through email.
Right.
So when I get it, I assume that it's posted as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that would be. Okay, so yeah, I mean, in theory, somebody could file an action against the city and say, hey, you shouldn't move forward with this evening's meeting because of the fact that there were complaints about. We didn't receive any of those complaints actually directly. The only one that we received was a call this afternoon, and we were able to access the agenda and so forth. So, and we definitely do have a record of the fact that we did post it in all the places that we normally do in compliance with the law, and like I said, sent it out to folks. So,
Okay.
as long as we're all just aligned that we want to proceed with the meeting this evening, that's fine.
Mr. You concur?
Yeah, I think as long as we have legal precedents that we can proceed. If there is concern, then, we should proceed with caution and, move to tomorrow at 7. But if we do have legal precedents to move forward, then I think we're fine. I mean, that's right. Look to the city attorney for that direction, but.
Well, it sounds like you have concurrence from council. We'd like to move ahead with this agenda. There are only 2 items. Maybe 3, but if someone wants to voice their opinion, they're free to do so. So on that note, we'll go ahead and move to public notice. This meeting is being conducted consistent with the state of California's executive order. Oh, I don't need to read all that. That's on the COVID stuff. Okay, any member of the public may at this point address the council on any item not in the agenda. The council will listen to all discussions, but will take no action or make no comment. Floor is yours.
Henry Martinez Jr. I came two weeks ago to express my concerns. And so did several other people, and so did many other residents. To hear from Maria Orozco that she did not want to hear any of this or listen to any of the stuff that we had to say is unbefitting of a council member. You know, we got a problem and we're trying to take care of it, but you refuse to listen. It's just rude. So then what are we here for? You know, that's all I gotta say.
Mr. Martinez, was that privately? Because on the dais is not, I never heard Ms. Orozco. I didn't hear it. Sorry. All right, anyone else wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda?
Henry Martinez, you guys were arguing that you couldn't hear or see the video while she was commenting. That's what the deal was. That you guys were trying to hear this and then the people talking and she said it when you guys were trying to focus on this. That's what he was trying to say. Okay, back to what I was going. As you know, I'm against military equipment. I believe in non-lethal weapons. Why isn't it one of the guns a beanbag launcher? They have multi-barrel military equipment, which I'm totally against, but I'm willing to accept. It's the grenade launcher modified to carry beanbags. It's a 6 to 8 shooter launcher. We would have had that, what was it, 15 years ago when the Valdez got shot in the head? We could have shot him 10 times, 15 times with the beanbag and knock him down till he dropped the knife and we wouldn't have to shoot him in the head, chief. And not pay the family lots of money because shot him in the brain with a lethal hollow point. Shoot up his brains when the bullet went in. You know, why are we not buying non-lethal equipment to supply these officers? They proved 4th of July that they're not trustworthy. Which I told you they were not trustworthy 6 months prior to that, 8 months prior to that, when you guys were talking about the zone. Now, if they want my respect, why did they not answer my California issue of 837 on the California Constitution thing? It is called citizen arrest. When a citizen says that they were attacked, not once, but twice, his officers should have stopped and said, Mr. Martinez, here's the form. We'll take the other officer under arrest for striking me twice. What kind of leadership do we have that they don't know what 837 is under the Constitution? It's an old law, but it's there guaranteeing us all the rights for citizen arrest. And I have not gotten a call back from the city or the police department to sign the form for citizen arrest. It was used on me. A lethal weapon was used on me. And no one has called me to sign that paper and have one person arrested for assault and battery. And you want to buy them guns, military equipment? You guys are wrong. And whoever's running this year for council, I'm gonna be mentioning that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anyone else wishing to speak before council? Go ahead.
Ernie Martinez III. Today I'm representing the football team because I care about them so much, even though school's starting back up pretty soon. And I'm really hoping that you guys can get them equipment because they really need new stuff, new weights, new bars, And to be honest, I mostly care about the school, my family as well, and all I do, because I have a friend in school, I still have one more year to go. He wants to join the army as well. And his name is Jeffrey Ibarra. That's his full name. And today I came here because of the chief after the incident. He heard that multiple times against my parents. And when I never told him that when I was playing at the park today, playing with my friends of football. So we were just playing tackle football and I noticed that I was coughing out blood. And so technically I looked it up and said it's internal bleeding. So I returned to bleeding. And so I never wanted to tell him that, but I'm telling you guys that. I'm trying to improve myself to be stronger, faster, and get out harmony way. I'm training for the military, going on runs, miles, and whoever is like in danger, I'll go in first, save them. I have saved many people down in Paso Robles, including my friends, because they were suicidal, and I help people who have all that problems. I'm taking like a therapist, and I care about every people around this town. Whoever have problems like that, I can handle all that. And what's really wrong is the police force, new chief that is not corrupted, including the corporal, new sergeant. And it's hard for me because I've been stressed over in past years. Having this for like almost 20 years now. The only time I ended up in the hospital when I was overstressed too much. And when I was living down in Paso Robles, I was stressed at the point where I couldn't think straight. So I ended up fainting in my third period class in science. The school they never done nothing about it. So I was complete like out cold, couldn't hear anything. So I ended up in the school nurse and set up somewhere that it should be properly. And hospitals need to do that more often. And I've been hearing a lot of stuff been going around, like some fireworks still been going off still, and the police haven't done nothing about it. People are trying to sleep. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Is there anyone else? Yes, I see him.
I see my hat was there.
I can barely make out the hat, but yes, I do see the hat.
I just want to thank the city for cleaning up in front of the post office. Hopefully they tear down that tree, cut it down, because if not, you're gonna be cleaning it every year, all that glue that's out there. Too, I wanted to mention, I've been driving by this house, address is 222 Belden Street. And there's a water leak out there, and I believe it's from the main valve out there in the city property where it's supposed to be the city tree. And it's been leaking for months and months and months, but it looks like somebody trenched it out. They put a board over it, and then they put their signage all the way around it. I'm not sure if the city did that, but it's been there for months. It's been leaking water. So I'm thinking those people probably have a high water bill because that's probably where the meter's at. And that's where it looks like, where the meter's at. So I don't understand why. I think it's been like that for 3 or 4 months now. Another thing I wanted to mention was on Fifth Street where the water tank's at. They have a tree there that's dead in front of the water tank. And I went to go look at it. The tree's kind of all black. And it looks like it's full of black beetles or something. So, and the tree looks dead. There's not one limb on that tree that's alive. So I think the city needs to take that tree down. And, you know, especially when school's starting now. And then another thing is on Fifth Street. Now the school's starting, I wonder if they're gonna fill those potholes, because there's probably 5 or 7 big old potholes right there where they're doing the construction in that area. I wonder if they could fill those in before school starts. Yeah, thanks. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience? Seeing none, then I'll go ahead and ask Marisol, do we have anyone via Zoom?
Yes, May Martinez, one person.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and turn on their, unmute them?
Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is May Martinez. I just have a concern that I had on July 4th. I don't live in Gonzales no more. I moved because I was pregnant and I had a concern about me staying there because, you know, all the drama that's happening with my family. But I went there for the 4th of July and I bought a box of fireworks at the fireworks stand. And it was a cool night, you know, I was lighting off the fireworks that was in my box, and I kept going on walks because I kept feeling nauseous, and I do suffer with horrible anxiety, so that's partly why I went on walks. Um, Around 9 or so, I came back and I was lighting off more fireworks that I had in my box, and cops showed up, and you know the whole scenario that happened with the cops. I went out there to see like why was they yelling, and one of the cops, he was an older male. He went up to me saying that he could arrest me, and I asked him um like why, you know, 'cause I was so confused because he just came up to me saying he can arrest me. So I was really confused. I asked him why. He said we caught you laying off illegal fireworks. So like what fireworks? Like what illegal fireworks? Because I just turned 18 and I know nothing about any fireworks or the law or whatever. And I only fireworks that I had was the box that I bought. And you know, I was confused and scared because like I came to Gonzales one night to have fun and they immediately went up to me saying that they could arrest me. And later on they gave me a citation. Um which was an officer that I had a case against gave me that. And I'm concerned about that too because I don't know if that was some type of like passive aggression towards me because of a case that I had. Um, and I asked him like, hey, can I leave so I can go home? I don't feel good. Like, can I go home? And he said, yeah, sure, whatever. That's the only concern I have. I also do have another concern about a house. I'm pretty sure the dog catcher always gets dogs from there because they're always on the loose, and I was like walking around, but I always notice this one dog that is always on the street and doesn't look fed or well kept. I don't know if you guys can do something about that because I'm worried about the animals in that house that keeps escaping. But yeah, that's all I have.
All righty, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Marisol, was that it?
That is all.
Okay. Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and we'll bring it back to council. And first item on the agenda, there's a consent agenda. There's only a few items. And at this point, is there anyone wishing to pull an item, discuss an item? And if not, oh, we do have one. Okay. A warrant, okay?
Question, there's a payment to the SPCA for a little bit over $6,000. And, it was for 1 month, I think it said for June, correct? July. That's pretty acceptable, $6,256, it's a monthly fee. So I know that we pay the SPCA and we have to relinquish animals or we have get animals that we take them back to. And then there's different prices.
For every animal taken up, be it police department, animal control, or a public resident, it's upward of close to $200 an animal. That particular month, we had some residents, a few of them take in litters of kittens. So it adds up really, really quickly. So that month we took very little animals up ourselves, so the rest were all taken up by the community. So, and that price, not to scare you any further, but that price is going up. Certainly never goes down.
Maybe,
I cringe every time I did that bill, to be honest with you. I
Right.
swallow my chair, and I don't even like opening the envelope, to be honest with you, but
so this is not a monthly fee. This is just the fee for that particular
I'd say
month. Yeah,
high months for animals.
right. And I appreciate that. And I think we've had this discussion before. What can we do as a community to educate the public that these costs come out of the city treasury? And even when they want to relinquish animals and they relinquish them themselves, it gets charged back to the city, but we can't charge the animal owner.
Yeah, the ironic part about that is every time, I mean, motorists could be traveling down 101 and they see an animal in Gonzales and they happen to pick it up, and take it in. All they do is tell the SPCA it came from Gonzales and you're billed. It's written to the contract that way. I've done all I can do as the chief to get animals chipped so we can return them when we locate them, or somebody calls us, tells us they found one. It'd be nice if folks be more responsible as animal owners and take care of their animals, but
I mean, so technically a person from another jurisdiction can take an animal into the SPCA and just say, oh yeah, we live in Gonzales, and it gets charged to Gonzales.
Yep.
We should work closely with the SPCA to say, can you ask for some form of ID, like, where do you live? Okay, I live in Timbuktu, then we're gonna charge Timbuktu and not Gonzales.
we've done that. It's up to the SPCA to check ID. I can't make them do it.
Right,
All I know is we have a contract for animal services, and that's what we're stuck with. The county animal shelter, it's the same price. We've explored that, so
that's one on Hitchcock Road.
we are regionally looking, we're talking about possibly a South County, location. The SPCA is looking at bringing another shelter down south. Carmen and I met with them not too long ago and asked the question, well, that would reduce prices at all? And the answer is no. It'll be a facility
But
closer to us.
that probably wouldn't reduce the cost.
No,
No.
absolutely not. So
Okay, well, I appreciate the information. Thank you.
And just to add, we are meeting with the South County cities because everybody's dealing with the same issue and is feeling a little bit frustrated about the
Yeah.
prices,
Yeah.
overall. And just seeing what we could do, if anything. But yeah, I mean, we've been told over and over that the price is the price and that even if the county were to open a shelter which is what they're considering to do, price is probably gonna stay similar to what the SPCA has right now. So no one's looking at cutting prices and unfortunately that is the biggest issue is we don't have like a chief said, we're not taking a lot of animals in, but it's everybody else that's dropping them off and being coded to Gonzales. But we're not the only ones that are unfortunately having to deal with the prices and issue of animals.
and not that it means anything, but there's other agencies to the south of us, they're paying triple what we pay a month.
There what?
Paying triple what we pay.
Really?
Just the amount of animals brought up. So we like to work with the residents here to like I said, reunite the animals when
Sure.
possible. And that's why I'm a big fan of the SPCA clinic, where they come down and they do the lowest, vaccinations, spade neuters and.
I agree.
goes a
No.
long way.
So, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve a consent agenda as presented.
Second. Yeah, that first and a second on the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to the regular agenda item. Glasses on here. So consider approval of resolution number 2024-52, a resolution of the city council of the city of Gonzales. Submitting the voters, Gonzales voters, submitting to the voters of the general election, municipal election, to be consolidated with the statewide general election held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, a measure increasing the city's transient use
Transactions.
transactions and use tax by 1/2 cent 0.05 with the use of the tax revenue to be subject to annual audit by an independent auditor and a citizens oversight committee. Staff report.
Mayor, council members, I'm going to go ahead and provide a little bit of background as to how we got here and what this potential tax increase can do to support some of our programs and services. So as you know, Gonzales has been nationally recognized. We have a lot of great things happening, and not only our GYC program, our supports and industrial ag park, et cetera. We've been awarded multiple awards, including the All-American designation in 2023, which we finally got our flags a year later, and a prestigious Culture of Health Prize Award in 2019. So the city's been working diligently to do what it can to achieve great success. Next slide, please. As you all know, our signature projects for this fiscal year are the Dennis and Janice Capera Community Center Complex, which has been funded through multiple sources, including Measure X, private donations, and the USDA loan. With that, we've been able to move forward and are currently under construction with the estimated completion date of December 25. Vasilia Housing is another major project of ours that we are moving. Negotiations are currently taking place and the environmental impact review is being finalized. All costs are being taken on by or offset by the developer for that project. And then the industrial wastewater treatment plant expansion, of course, is our other major project. Capacity is needed in the wastewater treatment plant to support the current infrastructure, as well as any new development wanting to come online. That includes housing. The city has secured a state revolving fund loan to get this project underway and will be open to bid tomorrow. Next slide, please. So the current conditions, I want to paint the picture for you all because even though we're taking on all those projects, it's important for people to know that we only have 44 full-time staff members. 19 of them are safety, which include fire and police, and 25 of the rest are non-safety, who make up our Public Works Department, City Hall, and administration. So technically 25 are carrying most of what you heard there. Next slide, please. So current conditions, this is no secret. This is what everybody sees and we hear about. Our city parks and open space can use a facelift and need to be better maintained. Our city facilities need a lot of rehabilitation, starting with our fire station that was built in 1969. And when it was built, it was built for a volunteer workforce. It wasn't designed for people to be there 24/7. Our fire engines are also a constant issue as they are both over 17 years old and were purchased already used. These are critical as our firefighters are the first responders to our local emergencies. And we can use funding to better maintain our roads and streets and to deal with our sidewalk issues, our uplifted sidewalks that we all know are a problem. And finally, funding is needed to sustain our current programs and services and to enhance enrichment opportunities for the community. Next slide, please. So you all heard this, our budget, our operating budget is $54 million. However, that includes our community center and wastewater treatment plant. So most of that is capital. General funds are only 7.4 million. So out of the pie chart there, you can see that only 12% of our budget is really what carries most of our staff and any other projects that we want to take on that are not already accounted for, meaning they're not part of the wastewater treatment plant or the community center. So any mandated services are going to come out of that $7 million. Any unfunded project that we want to take on would come out of that as well, which would mean that we would take away from something else, which is not ideal in our situation because it's a limited and very tight budget. Next slide, please. So unfunded priorities, again, just to reiterate, we need some desperate upgrades to our fire station. We need a roof repair, restroom upgrades, and sleeping quarters. We need some restoration there. Our fire engines, as I mentioned, are old and constantly have issues. Our streets, roads, and sidewalks need repairs and need some attention. City parks and open spaces, again, could use some maintenance and beautification efforts. And then we need to look at sustaining what we currently have in terms of programming. Next slide. So how we got here, I think it's important to understand. Without new growth, we have very little to no new revenue coming in. So we have basically what we have. Operating costs continue to rise. That includes everything from insurance to just the day-to-day business operations. Everything is costlier everywhere, and that includes the city as well. There is no room for unbudgeted expenses in the current budget. So when we have something like the pool heater or something break, we need to repair it. And that unfortunately takes money away from something else that was budgeted, again, because there's no wiggle room in the budget. Staff is working to cut costs and create efficiencies, but again, our revenue is not keeping up with the costs of doing business. We are seeking grants, but due to our size and our income level, we are often not competitive enough for large scale grants. We can get smaller grants, but the big major grants we have to do those in partnership in order to be competitive. And then we moved from an all volunteer fire department to a fully staffed fire department that we needed in order to keep our community safe. So that's one of our biggest costs. Next slide, please. The proposed sales tax, if you are willing to consider putting that on the November ballot, would increase the TUP tax by 0.5%. If it is approved, it would generate approximately $800,000 annually. And that could go to support our unfunded projects and services, as I mentioned earlier. It would ensure that the dollars stay local, meaning that no other local jurisdiction or state would be able to come in and take that additional cap of sales tax that we have. And it would align our tax rate with the other local cities. So folks, when they're shopping in Salinas or other places, they're already paying that 9.25%. The tax would only apply to purchases and restaurant meals. It does not apply to groceries, rent, utilities, medicine, or medical services. And the tax would apply to anyone who shops or dines in Gonzales. That includes visitors or those stopping by to fill up on gas. Next slide, please. And then just a comparable here. Again, we're one of the lowest in the area, and King City has actually elected to put the measure on the ballot in November as well. So we would be basically alongside them, and so has the county. The county is putting a sales tax measure for the unincorporated areas as well. So we'd be pretty much aligned with everybody else. And again, it's important that people know that when they're shopping outside the city, they're already paying that higher tax rate. Next slide, please. So just for a quick example, if you go out to dinner and you are, paying a $50 tab, it would add 25 cents to the cost of your dinner. If it's a $100 purchase, it would add 50 cents more to the purchase. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a whole lot that each individual would be paying. Next slide, please. And it's important to note, will this cover everything? Will this solve our problems? No, but it will make a meaningful difference and will help address some critical infrastructure needs that we have. Again, we mentioned them earlier and you all know what they are. If we don't address those needs now, they will continue to deteriorate and will be even more costly to fix in the future if we just continue to leave them. We can potentially lose the ability to collect that additional 0.5% in the future if another jurisdiction or state come in and grab it, which will cap us out. Next slide. And so before you, what you have today is to consider this action, consider the approval of resolution number 2024/52A, resolution of City Council of the City of Gonzales submitting to the voters at the general municipal election to be consolidated with the statewide general election held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, a measure increasing the city's transaction and use tax by 0.5% with the use of the tax revenue to be subject to annual audits by an independent auditor and a citizens oversight committee. So that is the action before you for consideration this evening. And we'll go ahead and take any questions if there's, I want to make sure there's nothing that Mike would like to add first.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, you have on your dais, we made a couple of minor sort of scrivener changes to the ordinance and the resolution. One was somewhat important in that we referred to the entity responsible for the collection and administration of the taxes being the State Department of Equalization. And they ceded that authority a while back to the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. So we had to make all those changes. We also made a couple of minor changes to make it clear. If you recall, when we had Measure K and then we did the new measure, the Measure X, the state, for purposes of administering the tax, assumed that we were just basically assuming Measure K became part of Measure X, and so we have a 1% sales tax, right? That really wasn't the intent of the council at the time, but we really thought we were gonna have a separate 5% Measure K and a 5% Measure X, and we're gonna continue on and so forth. So we made some tweaks to the resolution of the ordinance just to make it clear that this is really considered to be a standalone tax, right? So that this will have a separate oversight committee and have a separate audit done and so forth and so on. It stands alone. And unlike the Measure X, which is set to expire in 2044, this does not have an expiration date. It would expire when the community decided they wanted to place it back on the agenda for expiration. So that is the difference between the two. That's the only thing I had to add. Happy to take any questions.
I have one. I know that in the past, you've shared the numbers, but I don't remember them, so I'm gonna ask here publicly. When we talk about this half-cent sales tax, and you talk about $800,000, I believe the majority of those taxes that are collected are collected from our industrial part, more so than any other residents in their community. That or any of the visitors that come and buy gas and buy McDonald's, that type of thing. So do you have a rough number of what that ratio is?
That is correct. And I don't have the numbers on top of my head. Mike, do you know how much we get from the industrial tax? Folks?
The industrial park. The industrial park does produce a lot of the sales tax revenue, mostly from Green Valley. Not the big producers, like it's not the Taylor Farms and those, but Green Valley and Pape have actually are some large sales tax producers. And so a lot of that revenue, the assumption is that revenue is from folks that are coming from outside our community. They're coming from outside of our community to purchase inside our community. What that percentage is, we don't know. It's actually confidential and proprietary information, and the state does not break down for anybody because the entity who collects the tax is not required to report the zip codes that are making the purchases. And so, so number one, the state doesn't receive that information. And it's also confidential and proprietary information on the amount of sales tax that they receive. We as the city receive that from our consultants, but we're not allowed to disclose it because it would cause competitive disadvantages, and anybody in the community would know what their gross sales are.
Would it be safe though to say that the majority is coming from those large businesses that sell a lot of very expensive products?
A good percentage does come, yes. And,
Okay.
and the city does receive like one-time sales tax infusions when a new facility, let's say Taylor Farms is going to expand their plant and they have shipped in a lot of equipment. We receive the sales tax on all that equipment that is purchased and placed in the facility in that 1 year. It's essentially called a use tax, but we don't receive an ongoing sales tax. The tax is a sales and use tax. And so there's two components to it.
Thank you. Any further questions from council before we open it up?
Just real quick, and also the taxes that are collected when a resident purchases a vehicle and they have a zip code of Gonzales, those taxes are also come into play for this.
That is correct. The TUT or the what we're talking about now,
Mhm.
this 0.5%, that all comes back to the city of Gonzales. They're charged that tax at the dealer. The 7.25% that is the state tax, the base tax, what we call the Bradley Burns, stays with the jurisdiction and where the transaction took place. But the transaction tax comes here, and that's what makes it so powerful. The same thing with any online shopping. Any goods that are purchased and delivered inside the city of Gonzales, we receive the transaction tax for all of those purchases.
I think that's the area where people get confused, is the use tax. And I think it's really important for people to understand that. How we do that, I don't know at this point yet. But it is certainly something, I mean, we can look at K and X and see all of the things that we have done with those taxes. The community center, the pool, fixing the pool, the grants that we give to our community members that have projects they want to do, the camps that we do for the schools, the summer camps, the after-school programs. Those are all programs that were developed from these taxes. So that is what needs to be clear to the community. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and open this item up to the public. Any member of the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time. Again, you're limited to 3 minutes.
All right, Henry Martinez Jr. I don't like any more taxes. Too many times I've seen our money being taken and not being done anything with it. Our streets are a mess. Our side of town's practically just beyond dirty. Yeah, of course not. Listening to that about the online orders, I'm one of those few, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of us here too, that when we order, we don't ship to Gonzales. All my orders go to my office in Salinas. So of course, I'm not putting it into any of this stuff here. Because why? We get delivery at home. Here in Gonzales, if you order, it goes to the post office, and then they don't deliver to the house, and then it gets returned. So you got a problem here that needs to be addressed about packages and deliveries, because I'm pretty sure you get more money out of that. But until that gets fixed, my packages and anything that I order will continue to go to Salinas. The same goes for when I purchase a car, I put it under my Salinas address. None of that comes this way. Until, I start seeing a personal return on the city that we live in and having our stuff fixed and, get our affairs in order. Cause I'm pretty sure I think the last couple of meetings, you guys saying money's not there, money's going downhill. And I just found out the whole section, the other side is paying way less than anybody else is. So there's a bigger problem here, and it's not, grabbing more money is not the key. I mean, you might have to just restructure and start from the ground up again, because we can't just ask for more money. I got no problem paying the property taxes. I got no problem paying any dues, business license, any other fees that you guys charge me. I got no problem paying for it. But, to keep asking for more and not give, it's wrong.
Roman Barba. Well, I'm for the tax rate because I know we need the money. So, and you guys were talking about auto sales, and I was in auto sales for 40 years. So a lot of times what happens in the auto sales, they forget to update their software. They forget to put in the new tax rates. And then I seen that happen at dealerships where they're doing it, where somebody buys a car from coming from out of state, and they ask them, what's the tax rate over there? And they don't even know, the people buying the car. But if the businesses sometimes don't update their software, so it's a lot of times the city has to follow up. Like say you have Valdez Auto Sales here, they start selling cars and they have the old sales tax in there, you're not going to be getting all your money. So, and that happens all the time. And I could see that one thing we could use as money is that park that I've been complaining about over here with skate park and stuff. I mean, I know they went out there and whacked it, but they did a half-assed job. But we could use some of that money to upgrade that area there, maybe plant some grass and fix everything like that. And I think that you need to get together with the school district, because I remember last time when you went for this issue here before, Maria Roscoe's daughter was against it. She was posting it online. And now she's on the school board. She's a school board president. She needs to sit down with that school district and tell them, hey, they need to support the city too on this stuff. If they don't, they're gonna start posting, oh, I'm totally against it. And next thing you know, they're going to put a bond. City's going to put a bond and all this other stuff. That's what she was posting last time. So I think you should need to sit down because she was there and I think Ms. Cuevas was there. The rest are on you at that time when that happened. And I could see on Faino Road, if you get to the stop sign on the left-hand sside, there's 9 sidewalks that are lit up on Faino Road on that one side. And I went out there with one of them. It was like 6 inches off the ground on Faino Road. So on the other side, there's probably 8, but they're not as bad. But the ones on the other side where Mr. Worthy lives in that area, they're really, really bad. So I'm surprised no one's tripped and, and confronted the city on that. That's really, really bad. But I could see that the city needs this money, so I'm totally for it. So I'll push my family members to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience?
Henry Martinez, Senior, 112 10th Street. Again, I'm self-serving myself, just talking. You want money, but yet you're spending it unwisely. For example, our fine officer over there, 9 assault rifles for a town that's not safe. Are we or are we not a safe community? If we're a safe community, we don't need the 2 now and 9 more, 11 assault rifles. Who are we shooting? There's no one that we're shooting at. There is no shooting like you go to, what big city? Oakland, LA. They got shootings like crazy over there. I could see those cops with assault rifles. You got shooting every hour over there. When do you hear a shooting here in this town? Save money, then ask for money. That is a useless waste of money. $1,000 a piece, that's $10,000. That $10,000 can go to the fire chief to upgrade his fire station, buy something that he needs. You need to look at cost savings. If we're such dangerous like LA, yes, I agree with the assault rifles, but we're not having a shootout. We're not the Wild Wild West that they need to go out there when they can use non-lethal weapons to shoot someone in the head. Yes, they did. Valdez family across town shot him straight in the head. Don't look, don't make faces. You're as guilty as hell because you were corporal back then. You should see his uncle crying in front of my house that his nephew's dead. They could have used the non-lethal weapons, batons, either end of the door. Swing at him when he came out. No, nobody was there in charge, telling the officers, get on both sides of the doors, get the batons ready. As soon as he comes out, he has the knife in the left or right hand, swing, break his arm, break his chest, but he's still alive. Non-lethal weapons. But you want to spend over $9 grand and then come and ask us for tax dollars? I can't agree with for the taxes if you're going to spend money unwisely for a safe town. He doesn't need assault rifles for a safe town. 2's enough. They already showed once that they are able to shoot in front of kids. Show us you save money. Show that we have brand new fire trucks, brand new equipment for the fire department, and then we'll give you taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? No? All right, then I will go ahead and ask Marisol. Marisol, do we have anyone via Zoom that wishes to comment?
No comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Thank you, Mary. Then I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and bring it back for council discussion. Discussion from council.
So council, I just wanted to reiterate that the resolution that you have before you this evening is not approving the tax. It's actually placing the tax on the ballot for the voters to decide. That's the beauty of the action. So heard some opinion on it this evening, and that opinion can be expressed at the ballot box, right? So that's the action that you have before you this evening.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to consider approval of resolution number 2024-52, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Gonzales submitting to the voters at the general municipal election to be consolidated with the statewide general election held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. A measure increasing the city's transaction and use tax by 0.5%, with the use of the tax revenue to be subject to annual audits by an independent auditor and a citizens oversight committee.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to the next regular council item, and that is the 4th of July updates. Staff report?
I will go ahead and start the presentation as well, and then I'll turn it over to the chief that will provide some of the data. And then Chief Musil will close with some of what worked and what didn't. So, all right. Next slide, please. Did it freeze? Okay, well, just a recap of some of the actions. So you all called for a firework committee, and we met several times to design a plan of action that was to be deployed actually prior even to 4th of July. We did some work with our legal counsel. We refreshed the code to include the 10:30 p.m. curfew. We also made changes to safe and silent fireworks only being allowed on the 4th of July, not any other day. And we're assessing an in-house fee still to be considered, if it could be added on the front end. And then we deployed a messaging campaign, included print, videos, banners, social media, city managers report, utility bill stuffers, et cetera. And we got some airtime on the news, actually multiple times. Next slide. Here's just some images of some of what was confiscated that evening. I will let Chief Wise talk a little bit more about that, but the drone was used, and we felt that it helped immensely. There were a number of citations given, and the other tactic was the mass deployment. So deploying both fire and PD throughout the town to be ready to respond more effectively and timely was definitely helpful as well. So Chief Weiss will go ahead and share a little bit of the statistics. Next slide.
So this slide represents from 2021 to current 2024 each year totals. 2021, we had 20 total calls, confiscated 313 fireworks, citations issued. 2022, 14 calls, 116 fireworks confiscated, and 4 citations were issued. 2023, we had 23 calls, 114 fireworks confiscated, 5 citations issued. And this year, there's still a typo on that. It should be 32 total calls, 300 fireworks confiscated, and 11 citations issued. Next slide, please. This is interesting. It breaks it down on 4th of July for all the incidents. That total day, we received a total amount of calls for service of 74. They marked it at midnight up to about 2300, 11 o'clock p.m. on 4th of July. Out of the 74 calls for service, 32 of those were for fireworks. The most busiest times, now that day we started receiving firework calls at 2 o'clock. We received one, sporadic up to the most busiest part of the day, which was 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night. Started picking up about 8 o'clock. Busiest was 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock, we received 7 calls. 10 o'clock, 7 calls. So that represented 32 calls for service that evening. We haven't broken down in more detail, more statistic data as to location, the number of citations for each citation. I think I reported briefly on that either a staff report or one of the previous meetings, but yeah, 2 of those illegal fireworks incidents were submitted to the district attorney for complaints. There were citations issued. And we're waiting for filing on those 2 cases. So with that, I'll turn it over to Fire Chief to conclude the slides and presentation.
Thank you. So just some of the lessons that we learned from this last year and what we can improve for next time. One of the big successes was that the committee that the council selected and worked with us through that process. There was a lot of good ideas, a lot of good conversations that came out of that, and a lot of good plans were implemented because of that committee work. So they should be commended for their involvement in that. And then just their help with helping us spread the word as well and get the messaging out there. I think we had a good messaging program regarding the new tools, regarding being that the drone was going to be out there. I think everybody got kind of a good idea of what we were going to be doing that evening and had plenty of advanced warning, I guess you could say. Overall, people seem to be more mindful of not using illegal fireworks. I personally, in my rounds that evening from, till well after midnight, I believe I noticed a drop compared to previous years. I really do. It wasn't as widespread. It was more sporadic. And I would say probably, and I'm just throwing it out there, but I would say we probably saw a 35 to 40% drop in the total number of illegal fireworks used. That's just my guess, just from comparing it to previous years. So I did think that we did have an effect. Everything that we did working towards this was effective, at least somewhat, in trying to curb the problem. Having the staff deployed in all the neighborhoods in town that made for a quick deployment if we did, as you know, we didn't have anything big happen. We did have one small fire that I happened to be right there driving by when it happened, so I was on it right away. So that was one of the advantages of having that staff deployed. And we did get a lot of good feedback from the community when the guys were in those neighborhoods. Neighbors were saying that they liked having the fire department there. Made them feel safe. They were happy. We got good interaction. We had a good interaction with the public. I stopped and talked to many, many families that night that were doing safe and sane, and I talked to a few that weren't. But we talked. And then actually on the other side of the list, one of the lessons that we learned, I'm gonna skip down a little bit, is the fire personnel are not always a deterrent to people using illegal fireworks. They're not afraid of us, period. It didn't work. So I think it would have been nice if we would have had a little bit of effect on that, but I don't think we did at all. I think as far as the fire department standpoint, they were happy to see us, but they weren't afraid. I mean, I would get on the street and they'd run out behind me and light it off, So that's one thing we learned. There's still a lot of work to do. For the messaging next year, more frequent and earlier, probably starting, maybe in March or April. Start getting the messaging out, some new videos and, new ideas for how we can deliver those messages in different ways would probably be good. And then one of the things that came out of the committee in the after action meeting was that the messaging should be clearer and include the amount of potential fines. Some people felt that maybe that wasn't as the fine amount wasn't as front and center on those banners as it should have been. So it should have been, you know, the big letters, this is how much you're gonna pay, and then, you know, not down in the fine print. So with that, I believe that's the last slide, right?
Yeah, can I add on to just for a second? So citations issued, I found the locations here. So one citation was issued on County Way, one cite issued on Freedom Way, one on 9th Street, one on Simillion Way, one on Zinfandel Drive, one on Belden Street, two on 10th Street, and then two warrant complaints generated from the DA's office from 10th Street. In addition to those, we still are receiving calls for fireworks to date. We issued another citation on July 28th for criminal use of illegal fireworks, so people need to stop using these things because if you're caught, you're gonna get a ticket. It's the bottom line, so those were the locations of this year's enforcement as far as citations issued. Outside the citations issued, the officers did respond to many calls for fireworks. Unfortunately, we're tied up extensively on 10th Street for a period of time that prevented them from going elsewhere to force further illegal fireworks. But I tend to agree that they were more sporadic this year and not all at once, it seemed like. I mean, for the whole business hour, we had a total of 7 calls for service, so 2 hours, 14 calls. You know, 1 at 9 on the 10. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions. How many personnel do we actually have for both police and then for fire on that particular day? How many people were out there working?
For PD, we had max deployment. We had some people out on injuries, so we can't count them. So the entire department.
Which is how many officers?
10 that night.
10 that night, okay?
We had 7, the entire
So
department.
total 17 folks out there trying to keep safe. Okay.
In addition to some volunteers that were volunteering to report fireworks.
Okay.
So,
Of the citations, how many were actually from the drone?
all of them.
All of them were in the drone. Okay. Great.
Yeah, there's clear video footage from the drone of every citation issued that night for illegal possession and use.
I have a question or comment. I heard you say Zinfandel Drive. There was quite a few in my neighborhood, and I wondered if they were from calls or if they were from the drone, which I think you just answered. And one of the things that I had been told by some of the neighbors within those areas is as soon as the police came, everyone scattered and it was quiet for the rest of the night. And so I just want to bring to some people's attention that there were police officers in my neighborhood too, and I'm on the other side. For those of you that think that they were only on one side of town. I saw them several times in my neighborhood because I had several people letting them off, but they terminated them as soon as the police officers showed up. So I just want clarity on that. Thank you.
Any other comments from council
Me,
before I open it up to the public?
me,
Oh, sorry, Liz.
that's okay. So the data you gave us is just for the 4th of July. It's not, I mean, because I'm sure there have been other citations issued. You mentioned one, I think towards the end of July. And that's kind of the bigger picture that I wanted to know, because these things start going off before Memorial Day and they just continue. In fact, I think there was another one this weekend and I'm done. I'm fed up with it. I wanted to know, what does assessing in-house fee mean on one of your slides? I did not know what that meant.
There was an idea from the committee, if you recall early on, that we would potentially do a city administrative fee as well as then be turned over to the DA. So, but we're still looking at it with legal counsel to see if that's even doable, and it doesn't become like a double whammy, I would say. Correct, or is there anything? So there's still research to be done on that. The other part of it is that we've shared with the committee that some of the other cities that do have an administrative process, it becomes very difficult to do an administrative process because we need to have an appeals board. And my friends in King City, the city manager is the appeal board. So it just takes a lot to stand up a process. And then to have volunteers to come in and to go through an appeal process so like, for example, Salinas has been reaching out to us to cover their appeals board. So it's just, something that needs to be worked through and figured out. It's not cut and dry. And then it's a matter of how much is even allowable to charge up front and what does that look like and the administrative process to collect the fee and to appeal and all of that. So it takes more time for us to stand that up and to assess whether it's worth taking all that on, because there's going to be a lot of time and effort put into it to see, how many citations we're going to go ahead and appeal or take on.
You know, and to add on to that, I was able to view all the drone footage, all the body cam footage from the officers that night, and I could tell you I was very upset with how, the blatant disregard for public safety, these people using these illegal fireworks. It's no wonder houses are catching on fire. They're not even being discreet and they're trying to be safe with these things. They're aiming them toward houses in neighborhoods that are heavily populated because of 4th of July, kids out and about, and blatant disregard. It's unacceptable. And hopefully they'll continue, if they continue to use them, they'll be held accountable. If we catch them, they certainly will be. But yeah, I was kind of shocked to see footage of how blatantly.
The other
disregard
thing-
for public safety.
The other thing we need to think about is people will do these fireworks on New Year's Eve. So that is absolutely a time, we need to continue this conversation, I think, throughout the year, just to remind people that.
Well, and I think just with the added support of the drone, we'll be able to, respond quickly and catch some of the folks who are doing them. I mean, that's exactly what happened on this, what did you say, July 28th?
It's a hefty fine. So
And the images are pretty clear. The offenders are, that's how we're able to give the citation because there's proof there. If you recall, one of the reasons why we weren't able to give citations before was because we couldn't prove who lit the illegal one. With the use of the drone, we can see who's actually lighting it. So we'll definitely be using it for New Year's and other times throughout the year.
So, kind of added to that, assessing thing, the appeals process that people can, is there still going to be a tribunal as recommended by the committee for the appeal process of those citations that do not go to the DA?
We haven't got to that level of detail in terms of setting up the administrative process. We have to figure out what that administrative process is. And prior to that, our city attorney needs to assess what that could even look like. So we need some more time to do that work. I can tell you that some members of the committee are very active and want to stay involved. And we've already talked about meeting in April of next year. So there's some that have definitely made the commitment and, but they themselves have said it's up to the council if they want to keep us on. We're willing to continue meeting with you, but if you want to find other people or invite others to join as well, they're open to that. But their commitment is definitely there. And so we will look at the administrative process, what that's going to look like, what it takes, look to our neighboring cities to see, how it works and learn from them. To see what we're able to do here.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything?
So, and according to Chief, you said you've reviewed all the drone tapes from that particular day.
I did.
Okay, and is there drone footage of other days that have been non-compliant?
every time the drone is deployed, there's video footage of the deployment.
Okay, it's always deployed when there's a number of illegal fireworks being shot off, I guess.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's definitely a time to deploy it. strategically, we could deploy it at times we feel that there could be, you know, days leading up to the 4th of July holiday
Mhm.
where we deploy it. We have stats for calls for service dated years back. I mean,
Or like
that
Lorraine
came
said,
up.
New Year's Eve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it would be nice if the committee would reconvene prior to New Year's to
Yeah,
have
I
a
agree.
discussion and dialogue.
okay. And another thing I think I remember was that I thought there was something mentioned about having a foot or bike patrol. But that was not done.
We had officers on foot
There were officers on foot?
and plain clothes, in uniform,
Okay.
no bikes. We had one bike and it has flat tires.
I can give the PD a bike they can use,
We
but.
have.
And kind of what Jason said earlier is that things kind of stopped when a fire truck showed up in a neighborhood. Everybody just kind of minded their own business until they left, and then they started up again, which kind of happens with either the fire truck or a police car when they're in the neighborhood. I personally witnessed 3 teenage boys last Friday. They didn't shoot anything into the air, but they had the packet of the old fashioned firecrackers right by my mom's house. They lit them, they took off. So have no idea who they were, but I know what kind of bikes they ride.
One of those
Come on.
videos shows the mortar tubes. That's how they're just left in the street. When the police show up, everyone scatters. These are left behind.
Oh, wow.
So we take, those are what.
Yeah.
I remember when we were kids.
In addition, though, some folks are using like a tube, longer tube, they held onto it.
Oh. Also, I think Jason mentioned it, that if we were to put lettering on the signs that could show what the actual fine is, make it larger, because I think we tried to do the job to get the information out there, but I think that the signs were the lettering was too small to read. So we really need to just like throw it in their face.
Those fines are just basic fines. It's not, it's prior to court costs and all the associated.
And that kind of has to be the message, kind of like when a person gets a DUI, you kind of list all the costs and at the end, you know, you could lose your job, those kinds of, that kind of information is very helpful. And the last point I want to make is that there seems to be a lot of social media postings that encourage people to do things that they shouldn't be doing when the PD is on a particular side of town. So in other words, they're kind of giving people a heads up. Hey, they're over here. Now you can feel free to do whatever you need to do over there. So I just think that's really unacceptable behavior at any level. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I'll go ahead and open up this item for the public. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item may do so at this time.
Love this. First off, those 2 kids that got the tickets from the police in my neighborhood, I'm paying for those fines. Because they didn't deserve them. None of them did. I know it's a few $1,000s, but hey, I can afford it. But hey, I don't know how you can straight up and lie and say your numbers, those numbers were boosted. Oh, look at the paper. It's clearly in the paper, the police logs that were posted right after the 4th of July saying those days. There was 11 calls total, 11 different calls. And I think 6 of them were for fireworks and there were 4 for tickets. So his 32 and what, I don't know what the ticket amounts was. So someone's lying there. Newspaper is lying or the police is lying. You guys check the logs. It's in the Gonzalez what paper? Clear as day. So someone's lying. And second, I had 24 officers, 9 from Gonzalez PD in front of my house from 9 o'clock to 10:45. So they were not patrolling the town. They were all there. And yes, the Discord and Facebook threads you were talking about, it's exactly what was going on. They were posting, hey, Cops are over here, you got the green light. Okay, cops are over there, you got the green light. So yes, there is that. And yes, when they were at my house, the green light was given across town and everybody shot off all within that hour and a half. So by 11 o'clock, the town was dead and quiet. So yes, there wasn't that much action because they were all shot up at the same time. So yes, you guys are all correct. Yes, about everything. But yes, these cops were at my house. While we were being assaulted by these cops, the whole town set off. It was the best 4th of July ever. That's what I said. We celebrated. I'll gladly pay those 2 fines and the rest of them that are across town, just to prove a point to the PD and Gonzalez here, that we're going to celebrate the 4th of July no matter what. Because he was taking swings, and I'm pretty sure one of those district attorneys is me, because they couldn't grab me that day. They wanted to arrest me. They didn't touch me. They couldn't get anything from me. And I told them straight up liars, but no. And here I am today. So I'll gladly take that district attorney challenge, and we're gonna have fun with that left and right, man. And I still have not heard anything from you after those complaints we filed and the numerous calls I left. So I don't know, seems to be one-sided here. Nobody wants to hear anything. Nobody wants to do anything. But yes, I've answered your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Okay. My argument is we need to teach them how to be professional officers, how to approach a family to give a ticket. You don't chase the 15-year-old that was here last time after he witnessed your sergeant, your drone operator, smack me with a lethal weapon with a flashlight, chased him to his house. That's what he was telling you last week. With that short dog catcher, police officer who gave me the ticket because we filed a complaint on Perez, was actually doing the pushing and shoving my son. He chased that kid to his house, then gave him a ticket. I walked over there and I told the parents, I just got hit. And I just said, I got hit. The kid pushed the parents out of the way, walked up to Perez and the guy who gave me the ticket, with on August 22nd, the day I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have fun with that one in the court. Because I want to pay that ticket and I want to milk him for whatever information I can. Hope he goes. So I tell the parents I got hit once. Then the kid pushes the parents out of the way and says, Dad, Henry Martinez got hit twice. I seen it. Live witness. Okay? They were telling the parents, they don't sign the ticket, they're going to get arrested. Where in your law says being arrested? It does not say in your law be arrested. It says to be cited, to be given to the district attorney and be sent a court date. Okay? Numerous people were told. We were told, the neighbor kid was told, the neighbor around the corner on Fifth on Belden was told. Four people or 3 people were there, the mom and 2 sons and the daughter. Which of you 4 are going to take the ticket? Which of you 4? Yeah, this is what the cop said. You're going to let the mom take the ticket? You're saying eyewitness. Why was the cop saying, which of you guys popped the ticket? The parents signed the ticket. The mom signed the ticket. The other one said they're going to call the housing authority because they live on the housing authority. That is after the fact that they goes to court. Not before you go to court. What right do they have to call the housing authority? That is the district attorney's job when they file the thing in court, after they lose in court. Then that's them to file the complaints to wherever they have to go. These officers went out there, intimidated these people to sign the tickets. And one more deal.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, this has to be
Sorry.
said. I
2
don't
minutes.
care. Arrest me. I want him to touch me. That one ticket on 10th Street was filmed outside 10th Street. It was in the corner of Belden and 10th.
Thank
And
you,
they're
sir.
saying the property. No, that's where they caught the person. They caught the person at my house, but it was off the site.
Okay.
So one of those tickets are wrong. It was not 10th Street. It was on the
Henry,
street.
that's
I don't
enough,
care. You
please.
can yell at me, you can do whatever. He's guilty of not being there. He should be there on the
Mr.
4th of
Martinez,
July.
Mr. Martinez,
He should be working.
Mr. Martinez, would you please? sit
I don't care.
Please
He
sit
should
down.
be working. Arrest me. Come on. Arrest me. Come on.
I think we're gonna need a recess after this.
Well, enough, guys, to hit me. I can buy your badge.
This-
Hit me again.
Okay.
Oh, Roman.
Yeah. All right, okay, where was I here gonna say? Okay, I guess there was 11 citations, right? I think maybe 8 of them were probably on the 4th of July and the other ones were probably on different days, I would think. My neighbors didn't blow any fireworks, so I didn't bring a bag this year. So that was good. But I did see one of my neighbors drive in the driveway, open up his hatch of his car and started lighting illegal fireworks while his 5-year-old son's next to him. You know, so I was like, really? So, and then this is my home cameras catching this stuff, right? So I was like, wow. So I had to open up my door and look, he's really doing that. Wow. But I think the police department, maybe next year, I'm not sure if you're wearing your police outfits, your uniforms. I thought maybe they could be unclothed, maybe street clothes, just carrying their badges with them. Because a lot of times when I would walk, I would catch, especially on 2nd Street, I would catch this neighbor, and this neighbor. And you know, I see who's blowing them. Another thing was that close. Yeah, basically that's all I have. But I would think another thing is that how many people that called in really got a police car or had the drone fly over their house? Was it the drone flying over their house when they called in, or was a police car sent there to see who got a ticket there? But I would think the police department should have goals for next year. This year you gave 11 citations. What is gonna be your goal for next year? Is it gonna be 15 or is it gonna be 20? So you want to raise your goal up. You want to give more citations. So because the more citations you give, it trickles down into the neighborhoods and they say, hey, well, they gave out 20 or they gave out 24. Wow, we better watch it next time. Next thing you know, you'll have less and less and less people because there's more tickets giving, more citations. So I think the police department has to have a goal, just like what we did in the car dealerships. My goal every month had to be, I'm going to sell 25 cars this month. You know, so you always have to have goals. Everybody has to have goals. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor, one of our committee members is gonna go ahead and speak. I asked him to share a little bit about how the Safe and Sane did in terms of the sales and if they saw any changes and anything that you need to consider for next
Fantastic.
year.
Good evening. My name is Larry Rodriguez. I want to start off that, with the committee that we had, everyone present there, it was kudos to them. It was I thought it was productive. So thank you for that. But just to let everyone know that, again, we are members, or our group of members of the Spartan 300 nonprofit organization. So during that 7 days, we generated about $48,000 in sales. So I just like to say, thank you to the community that really that supported us, and because of that, that really going to help with our scholarship program, child in need program, and any donations that we offer. So again, thank you, everyone. It was a successful year for us. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Larry, I have a question.
Yes,
And you may or may not know the answer to this.
yes.
But according to Coach Ramirez, he said his sales were down a bit. Did you hear any more about that?
I heard a little bit about that. We have a different, company. We're with Phantom Fireworks and they work with TNT. That's my understanding. I thought our sales were down as well, and that's what I brought to their attention. Well, I checked with our treasurer and she said, no, that's not true. We pretty much, had sold the same as last year. So, so from that sales that we make, we get a big chunk of that, and that would be our profit. Of course, minus the taxes and so on, the fees and whatnot, but, as far as what Coach Eddie, what their sales were, I have no idea. Okay. Yes.
I was gonna ask a similar question of the sales you made. Don't give me exact amount, but a window of what your proceeds go back to the Spartan 300. Is it like between 25 and 40%? Is it between 5 and 10?
Are from there, from
Yeah.
the sales,
Yeah.
it's 50.
Oh, awesome.
And then you have to pay all your fees and
We pay the
taxes.
fees and we just paid our taxes. Yeah, so.
Good.
good. Thank
to
you for
hear.
that.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Let me double check. Marisol, do we have anyone via Zoom wishing to comment?
No comments via Zoom.
Thank you. Mary, do you have any comments? via
No
email?
comments via email.
Okay, then I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and bring it back to council. And I don't believe this is an action item. All of this is simply an informational item.
Just informational. I do just want to mention that the complaints are being followed up on and we're reviewing it and there'll be a response to the folks who made a complaint. So, but there's no action to be taken here, just a report out on what transpired.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then we'll go ahead and move on to the council item, business from the city council. City council members, boards and committees reports. I have the first two and I have no report for either one. The TAMSI was on leave for the month of July. And then the mayor's report, I had a doctor's appointment in Stanford, so I was unable to make it. So we come down to the Salinas Valley Recycles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also kind of going back up, I think TAMSI may be part of the agencies that will be attending a meeting on Wednesday night at Pisano. There is a meeting being held at Pisano this Wednesday with regards to the bridge at the river. And so that has been something that has been near and dear to my heart for many, many, many years. And every time TAMSI comes to this agency to give their annual report, I ask. And while that project has been on the list, it goes to here and then they kind of bump it down because something else needs to be done. So I will forego another commitment I have that night so that I can attend that meeting on Wednesday. As with regards to Salinas Valley Recycles, we will have our regular meeting on Thursday, August 15th. And then the following evening, they will have their annual employee appreciation dinner in Salinas, and I will be partaking in that. And that's all I have.
Moving on, excuse me, I apologize. We're going on to council comments. So any member of the council have any comments? We'll start with Ms. Orozco this time.
Yes, thank you. Just want to take the opportunity to thank the Public Works staff. They've been out there restriping and getting the streets and the signage ready for back to school, which starts on Thursday. So a lot of traffic again on Fifth Street and kids crossing the streets. Also wanted to take an opportunity to thank the staff for the senior programs that are being programmed. I've had a lot of good response from some of our folks who will be attending some of the sessions. And hopefully this is something that we can continue to do. Also, Rotary, we're having our annual golf tournament this Saturday. And again, all of our proceeds and funds that we raise go for scholarships for our students. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Funk?
Nothing additional this evening.
Liz, Ms. Silva.
I just wanted to say that after a comment I made at our last council meeting, when Mr. Radner, the new CEO of Salinas Valley Healthcare Systems, was here, there was a follow-up call within a day or two. And I was in contact with somebody from the hospital system. We had a very great conversation. I've shared some of that with Carmen during our meeting. And I'm going to look forward. I did mention the senior programs. I'm really happy that we're able to collaborate with Blue Zones, with the SVMH. And I told her I will always refer to it as Memorial Hospital since I was born at that hospital. And she understood. And gave her a little history of our medical facility and how the city hall now used to be the medical facility when I was a little girl, and I received stitches on my lip in Carmen's office when I was about 5. So she was real interested in some of the history, kind of like Maria's always said, I'm kind of the historian up here, and I'm glad to be going to be able to work with them to bring much needed services here to Gonzales. And if anybody has anything, please share it with me at any time. I'll be happy to convey that information back to them. Also to remind everybody that the Monterey County Fair is coming up, starts on August 29th and runs through September 2nd at the Monterey County Fairgrounds in Monterey. I hope some of you will come and enjoy. It is back to its regular scheduled program. So all the livestock and the carnival, everything will take place during those 5 days. And I will probably be there every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Worthy.
One positive and one negative. The first positive is I want to thank, we were able to meet the new GYC commissioners on Friday. Councilmember Silva and myself were there together. We had a really great talk with them. I'm very excited about what they're going to do this year, and they expressed some of their concerns and some of the other things that they really want to see happen. And I encourage all of us up here to try to develop more of a relationship with our GYC commissioners. I think it's important for them not to be so intimidated. And I think one of the things that we noticed from the beginning of the conversation to the end was that they were much more comfortable by the end of the conversation. So, okay, today I took my dog for a walk, and I'm sort of up here representing the people that think our community has problems with it being dirty. I'm going to use those terms. I was within less than a half a block where I took multiple photographs of the dog poop here in town. It's becoming very, very bad. And one of the things that Carmen and I have had a discussion about is to try to put different little kiosks all through town where people maybe will pick up their dog poop as they go along. Our community does have a problem, and we all have to work together to try to clean it up. I was also thinking that maybe with some of the subdivisions that we have here in town, I mean, even in the older sections of town, why can't we just put little notices or signs up that say, clean up after your dog, or you're entering our neighborhood? People need to pay attention to that. I have a feeling that most of the people that are doing it probably aren't watching these city council meetings, but I'm asking everybody that's here today to talk to your neighbors and talk to them about this, because I was up and down Fano today and I couldn't believe it. It was really sad to see how filthy it is out there. You walk around the neighborhood, I see the dogs too, these big giant dogs walking around, and their owners don't pick up after themselves. I mean, I may be getting to a point where I'm going to stop now and encourage people to, start bringing poop bags with them, because it's a representation of our community. I agree with you, Roman, when you come up here and say things, and it isn't the fault of our public works. Our public works are stretched thinly. It's up to all of us as a community to work together to try to clean this up, because I've lived here for over 30 years, and 30 years ago, it wasn't like that. It's gotten worse. Why is that? So I know I get emotional sometimes because that's who I am, but I'm telling everyone, please work together. Let's all work together and not be afraid to talk to each other about this, you know? Because sometimes I have a tendency to be concerned about talking to my neighbors about things because I'm afraid they're going to look at me like, who are you? You know? So anyway, that's all I want to say. I just really think that we all need to work together. And if there's a way, I know we have a little bit of money in our Measure K funds.
I was just waiting for the new fiscal year to get some signs so we could, yeah. we can get
Okay,
'em
I
from our
know
fis-
that
from
I know
Measure
that I'm
K
beating a
funds.
dead horse.
We have a little bit of money for beautification.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I've got a couple of items. First of all, I've asked and I've asked. Now I'd like to have this put on and I want a timeline of when it will get done. And that's the Fifth Street. Caltrans has approved the signage to not allow semis on, Fifth Street. The chief tells me he can't do it until those sort of signs are up to ticket those semis, because I'm seeing semis more frequently. I mean, Fifth Street's already beat up enough. We really don't need those semis on Fifth Street, but he can't do his job until Public Works does their job. So I want a specific date when that will get done. So when you have a chance to talk to Mr. Dobbins, I'd appreciate a specific date, because I ask about it, and it seems to fall on deaf ears. Second one is the dead trees. We've had citizens, we had Mr. Barber complain about the dead trees. And I noticed in one of the last warrants that we actually paid an arborist to come and tell us why it died. Why do we need to know why it died? It's dead. Bottom line, it's dead. And then why does it take so long to take out? We have a backhoe. Wrap that bucket on that little tree booger and it'll pop that thing right out of the ground. And again, I don't know what it's gonna take. Because those are simple little complaints that I hear on a pretty regular basis. Why do we leave dead trees out there? Well, Public Works is busy. Okay, well, they pick up tree branches at houses. Why can't they pick up those dead trees? Good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know. So if we can get a specific time when those will be out, I'd appreciate that. And finally, and I will direct my question to you, Chief, is that the other complaint that I get quite frequently is abandoned or non-operable cars. And a lot of folks are doing this. They'll take the front of the car and back it into their driveway. I've got one person that called me the other day and said, it's been on that driveway for 3 years, has not moved. I went by and what vision I have left, I could see it was obviously the dirt was about yay thick on it. So it's obvious to me that it hasn't moved and it's back in. I'd bet my bottom dollar that it doesn't have current plates on it. So what's it gonna take to clean up our little town? I'm willing to listen to suggestions. One of the things that I was kind of throwing around there, because I know the offices are busy. Well, and I know that the dog catcher is busy as he or she is. Maybe we could add that to that role, that it's something that they could go out and cite all these parked cars that have been there for literally years. I mentioned Mr. Miller. I mean, why he hasn't said anything about it beyond me, but those vehicles have been sitting in that driveway, which is like 2 houses over from, with tarps. And you can tell that they're basically torn apart. To me, that's a hazardous condition for some child to get in there and hurt himself, him or herself. So why we're not getting rid of all these junky cars, I don't know. I'm looking for answers from staff. I mean, is there something we need to pass an ordinance? I mean, I'd like some specifics. And so I would challenge both you and the chief to give me an idea of what we could do as a community to clean up all those listless vehicles that, for no fault of our own, they just sit there and take up space. I mean, I have the good fortune, I live on a corner, I specifically did that for a reason, because I figured, if everybody took my parking on this side, hopefully I'd have some parking over here. I mean, I've actually owned 2 houses that both been on corners for that specific reason, because I didn't want to intrude upon my neighbors. I figured if I had a little get together in front of my house and in the driveway, there'd be plenty of parking. And I know a lot of folks in town, their garage is their storage. Well, we had a lady here not that long ago that said, you know what, I'll pay for permits. I don't know, I think we're getting to that point, especially with all the ADUs, that the streets are all just, I mean, if you go on any given street at night, it seems like they just keep multiplying. I mean, if I didn't know better, I think all these vehicles are having sex, it's just multiplying. So, I'm sorry. I get it, you know, I get it, but there's people that just for whatever reason, and I. Anyway. Ms. Gill, that's a task that I placed on you, and I hope that you can provide us some answers in the near future. Okay, because I mean, it's like, it's either streets or abandoned vehicles or mobile homes that haven't moved, or I've had a couple of calls about mobile homes that are sitting on the front yard, and they're like, isn't that against the law because there's no payment underneath them? I said, I believe that's the case, but maybe you could correct me, chief, but I always was heard that, you know, you can't really have vehicles parked on porous areas. Maybe I'm wrong.
That would be a city administrative issue, not a police department issue
Okay.
for us.
Yeah,
So we're gonna blame Tavin then.
I've had complaints about pods being in driveways for years. It's an
Yeah.
ongoing problem.
And on the AVA issue, Mayor, you know what you know, I realize that. I also know what I know. I see the AVAs being enforced. We provide stats now in the police department activity report monthly on AVA progress or citation issue, vehicles towed, self-abated by owners. It's in the report. We belong to the Monterey County Vehicle Abatement Authority, where we receive money back from AVAs. So we're very robust in the enforcement of AVAs. We cleaned up majority of city streets first, to focus on that because it creates more of an issue with street sweeping, garbage pickup, et cetera, et cetera. We are now moved into not ignoring, we're still enforcing the street 72 hours, but we now moved on to the private property, which is a little bit different procedure process to follow legally. That's letters have to be generated and time periods have to be waited and before we could actually tow the vehicle away. Majority of the time, they're self-abated by the property owner after they receive the letters. So it doesn't go down as a stat for vehicles towed. So you won't see that in the report. But rest assured, they are being followed up on. And as far as the animal control / CSO, that is a collateral duty responsibility of theirs.
Okay.
So that's also being handled.
Well, I would personally like to see a report of some sort being generated that tells me, well, these vehicles in this area were cited for these reasons. Because in that way I could go back to the public, say, well, look, we heard your comments and here's what the vehicles that were cited on all these parts of town, because it's not just to one side of town. It's just not on the other side of town. It's all over. And I get it. I mean, quite obviously on Alta Street, those apartments are probably holding 3 families where there should only be 1. That's why we have all the parking across the street. Luckily, I kind of do see most of those vehicles move on a regular basis, but there are parts of town that I've seen vehicles sitting there. Gosh, like I said, the ones next to Paul Miller, I mean, I ran 4 years ago. They're still there.
There is a point system.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know the house you're talking about as well.
So, sorry to drone on. So we'll go ahead and move on to the city manager's report.
So I only have 2 or 3 things. So first of all, there was a question on the construction side now that the school's opening back up and any additional traffic that will happen there. So I just want to let you know that the sidewalk along the front of the community center site will be closed off so that to prevent people from walking towards that or in front of the site. Just to prevent any falls or anything. That crosswalk will be closed off for the time being. As well as the sidewalk. We will not, there was a question about putting another sidewalk on one of the corners, Rincon and Fifth Street. We unfortunately can't do that because we can't put crosswalks in an uncontrolled walkway. And so that would just create another hazard. So we will not be able to do that. So just wanted to give everybody an update on that and make sure that folks do know that if they're gonna be using Fifth Street, as school starts back up, just give yourself some more time. We are gonna have folks doing I shouldn't say it that way. Yeah, but I don't want to say traffic control because people are gonna get excited about being on the traffic control is gonna happen right in front of the center, right? As needed. So, they've been, forewarned and will be trying to prevent working on high peak times and especially the first weeks of school. But there may be times when trucks need to come in and they will be doing the traffic control again in front of the center site, itself. But just wanted to give you an update on that. So, public and, be mindful of also folks in the road that are, directing traffic. And then Ventura Circus is planning to come to town. This is a different circus than what we've had the last 2-3 years. They will be here August 13th to the 21st and will be open the 15th to the 19th. So you'll start seeing them set up and it's a different show. So it should be exciting to see. That's all I have.
There's nothing else from any other staff member? Okay.
I left that one for you.
And that's why that was one line, 6 to 8, 4 should be involved in the 7 should be one out. Future officers, they have officers,
That's 6 to 8 tomorrow. Okay. I'll be there. All right, this is a closed session item. Any member of the public may address the council on a closed session item appearing on the agenda. Speakers will be limited time of 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point. The closed session items, the city council will recess to closed session to consider personnel matters pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, City Manager's Evaluation. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Okay, Marisol, anybody via Zoom? Oh, okay, I'm assuming no. Sorry, Marisol, I gotta ask. Is there anybody via Zoom?
No
wishing to
comments via Zoom.
Okay. Any comments via email?
No
All right.
comments via email.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comment section up and move into closed session. So we'll go ahead and clear the council chambers.